You're watching Voiceover, How Did You Do It? At voiceoverpodcast.com, where we talk to seasoned, successful voice actors to find out how they did it. I'm your host, Ian Kleinfeld, and you can find me at voicebyian.com. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at voicebyian. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Ian. I really, really appreciate it. You've probably had on a lot of people in all of your podcasts.
Well, we're having I have 10 interviews this week since it's the holidays at the moment. So
Yeah,
everybody wanted to get in before the new year or right after it.
why not? Why
So
not?
I have a
Everybody,
very
a lot of people are off, and it's a little bit quieter work-wise, so it's a
yeah.
perfect thing. And I love your booth. That looks really, really nice. How long have you had that?
Honestly, only about 3 or 4 months. I talked to, do you know who Frank Verderoso is?
I don't, but there are a lot of really, really very knowledgeable people out there.
He's a New York engineer and he does remote stuff. And he helped me set this up with these pads on one side, and on the other side is automute sheets over there.
Uh
And
huh.
then I have these
The
bass
bass
traps that
traps.
I built, and it's actually a very big room because my wife likes to do her actual video auditions on that side of it.
Oh, that's terrific. You've got
Yeah,
audio and video both.
here,
That's
so it's. Let
wonderful.
me show you. We got um,
Look at that. What a great place.
so we
Holy
got white
moly.
over there on that side, and then
Yes.
black over here on this side.
This is fantastic. Now,
Yeah.
are you below ground?
I am not. I'm partially below ground. The below ground part of this basement was
Yeah.
actually taken up by the stage that we built on the other side. So
You built a stage?
yeah, well, I'm in North Carolina, so we have a little bit of space.
Yeah, I was going to say, but what do you do with the stage?
Well, when it's not quarantine, we actually have people over and put on shows. I'm a musician
That's
as well, so
amazing.
yeah.
That's incredible. I don't know anybody who's got a stage in their house.
Well, I always wanted one, and I always wanted a studio, so here we go. So
That's
unfortunately, this is not below ground, but it has brick, and then I have the windows covered with
okay.
uh, frames and traps that I built, and I'm going to put some more foam behind them. I just ordered some more just to, silence it up
Yeah.
since we're a little in the rural city of
Yes.
Durham. And so that
Yes.
means that there's a lot of chainsaws and occasional planes. And every
Yes.
now and then we have to sort of stop and
Yes.
continue.
That's okay. That's normal. The only reason I asked if it was below ground is because I saw this big pipe going along the top of the ceiling,
Oh,
and
that's the heater.
usually that pipe is usually you
Yeah.
find that in a basement. You
We are
find
in a
that on the
basement. Yeah.
ceiling of a basement.
Yeah. It's what I call a mullet house, but what normal people call a daylight basement. So it's one story in the front and two stories in the back.
Uh huh. Uh huh. I
So we
see.
we love it, but it's
That's nice.
so it's we're definitely away from the street, but not far enough away to
Not far
hide
enough
the
away to
garbage
make
truck.
it. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But that's still that's pretty amazing. That's
Thank
a
you.
great setup. Great setup.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, for our listeners, this is Marc Cashman, who's a renowned commercial producer, writer, voice actor, radio commercial producer, and probably a few things that I've left out. You're the voice president, which I had to read a few times, the voice president of Cashman Commercials. And you've won a CLIO, and you've been voted one of the best voices of the year by AudioFile Magazine. So, and you teach classes at USC, UCLA, California Institute of the Arts, and other places as well as
Yeah.
doing individual coaching and classes.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Did
been
I miss
pretty
anything?
busy. People ask me all the time, "Are you busy?" And my response usually evolves. Um, Originally, I said that I was busier than a one-armed wallpaper hanger. Then that evolved to I was busier than a one-legged man at an ass-kicking contest, and that eventually evolved to I'm busier than a one-toothed man at a corn on the cob eating contest.
I'm like, let me know what the next one is.
I'm just evolving. I always say keep your material fresh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, So let's get it. What's your website, your business name, etc.? It's cashmancommercials.com, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's pretty easy. It's Mark MARC, not the K, but MARC at cashmancommercials.com. That's my email address. And of course, my website is cashmancommercials.com. And you can go on there and basically find out more than you ever wanted to know about me. Plus, you get to hear a few things that I've written and produced, and then you get to see different things that you can, try, whether you want to try out a class or you want to try out coaching or you want to do an upcoming audition, all sorts of basically, voiceover services that I provide to people all over the world. And I do get to work with people all over the world. I am beyond the beyonds lucky. I've got students in 10 different countries all over the place, and that's growing every day, which is great. The other day, somebody called me from Athens. Another person called me from Tokyo. It's just absolutely wild that I get to work with people everywhere and anywhere, and it's like I'm right next door. It's just
Nice.
absolutely insane.
That has been
So
one of the good parts of the quarantine. It's, if there's
yeah,
any silver lining, it's that we
yeah.
get to do
That is
this.
that's the biggest silver lining is the fact that since we are hunkered down and we can't go anywhere, we can at least talk to each other. Yes, yeah, we can talk to each other on the phone, but with Skype and Zoom and all the other platforms we have available to us, this is the next best thing. Obviously, the best thing is us being back in touch with each other, literally in touch with each other. But for right now, this is working. It's
Yeah,
working more for adults than I think that it is for kids. They're just used to, well, just being together and stuff like that. We're used to being together also, but we're also used to being apart. We're more familiar with this. So a little
right.
bit easier for us to deal with. Easier for me to deal with only because I've been self-isolating for years and I've been doing this for years. So this is no the I know the pandemic has been a huge change for a lot of people. It was not a change for me. It was
Right.
basically pretty much the same old. Um, my social life has yes shrunk a little bit more, and it's kind of funny these being isolated as we are. Only many times I always say reinforces our basic antisocial attitudes. But
Yeah,
so it is going to be we're going to have to come out of our hole like Punxsutawney Phil and
seriously.
start mingling with people again. But it is going to be the post-COVID landscape is going to be quite different. You're going to see many people even after the vaccine is done. Millions of people are still going to wear masks in public because they don't trust others, and there's a
Mhm.
whole other dynamic going on there. But getting back to your original question,
Yeah. So
my email address is mark at cashmancommercials.com, and my website is cashmancommercials.com. And you can go on there and contact me with any questions anytime and learn all about this. Just again, if you're thinking of doing voiceover, if you've been in it for a while, want to up your game, if you're a full-time voice actor and have never done any kind of coaching before, this is the place to go.
and coaching is the key. Classes are great, but coaching is the gold
It's
standard.
funny. It's funny, Ian. People learn different ways. They have
Yeah.
everybody's got a different learning curve. Some people love the classes because number one, they like the camaraderie. And number
Right.
two, the focus isn't all on them. But other people say, I've done the classes. I've been in that. I need the one-on-one coaching. I do want it to be all about me for 60 minutes.
Right. Well,
And
I am an actor.
well, and yeah, I was going to say that's why actors act is
Yeah.
to be in front of people and say, "Look at me." I
Yeah.
mean, seriously. And in our case, listen to me, but
Yeah.
it's still look at me.
So, what sort of things are you working on right now?
Wow. You know,
Just a brief, overview.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm very lucky in that I wear four different hats pretty much all at the same time. They're just interchangeable.
Well, they look good on you.
So, well, that's, the thing is that I'd love to say my virtual hats look great on me, but a regular hat, I don't have a hat head. My wife and my daughter, they've got hat heads. You can put any hat on their heads and they look great. Me, you really have to work at it.
Yeah.
Particularly my if I wore a baseball cap, my wife says I look like an idiot, so I don't wear the baseball cap. That said, that said, so what am I doing at the moment? Well, I'm constantly teaching, so I'm doing one-on-one coaching. I've got classes, so that's classes I mean that's teaching up times 8 or 10 depending upon what I've got.
Hmm.
Um, I produce demos, voiceover demos for my students. So I'm always working on one of those. I also an actor, so I audition and I do whatever comes my way, whether it's a commercial or an e-learning project or an audiobook or an animated character or video game character. So I'm also working as an actor, so that's involved. I got that hat, and 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 um, and I'm also a writer. I've got a book under my belt, and I'm working on my sequel, and I'm also working on the audiobook version of my first book. And then when my second book comes out, I'll be working on that as well.
Who are you
So,
getting to record it?
I've been looking around. I'm thinking it's just been difficult for me to cast, but I'll let you know who I end up casting
Okay.
for my audiobook.
I
Yeah.
just assumed you were doing it yourself, and I was
Yes,
okay.
that's a good
Yes. Okay.
assumption. Yeah.
Yes, my dry humor backfired on me.
Yeah, no. I heard you. I heard right where you were going, and I just took it. I just
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. No, it'll be me. It'll be
Okay.
me.
That's
Definitely, it'll
great.
be me. But
And that's VO, right? V dash
VO, yes,
OH.
V hyphen OH exclamation point.
I've heard that book from a lot of different sources, and I do have to get me a copy.
That's you know what, Ian. You guess what you just did, my friend. You just engendered yourself a free copy.
Oh,
So all you have to
great.
do
Thank you.
is, as long as you live in the United States, send me your physical address, and I will send you not only the book but a personalized note with autographed and a bookmark.
Oh,
And it's a
thank you.
bookmark. It's a bookmark MARC.
For the voice president.
Yes, exactly. And it
Nice.
literally is a bookmark, but it
Yeah.
is MARC.
Nice.
Yeah.
Clever. I like
Yeah.
that. Good. So that's what you're doing. That's where you've been doing. What were you doing before you got into all this?
Wow.
Yeah,
You know,
before you started.
before I got into this, I was actually a school teacher. I was got my master's in education, and I thought that I was going to be a school teacher. And I was a school teacher. I was a school teacher for about 5 years in the public school system.
Uh-huh.
And I taught first 3 years I taught English, reading. I taught reading, and the second 2 years I taught history, American history. And and after 5 years of teaching, I came to a conclusion. I really enjoyed teaching. I kind of sort of liked some of the kids, and I hated the system.
Right, of course.
So after 5 years of teaching, the entire system just chafed on me, and it was I'm not a rule follower. I don't follow rules too well. I mean, certain rules, yes. I don't run through red lights,
Right.
shit like that. But certain rules in terms of, basically being creative and imparting knowledge and how to get kids to learn and people to learn. The system is very, very rigid. They
Right.
want you to go by the book. It's very, very bookish and structured again, and you can't deviate. They don't allow any deviations or any exceptions to it, and I can't operate in an environment like that. It's just impossible.
A
I
lot of
just
creative
can't.
people have the same problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm like that as well.
yeah. And so basically, I said if I'm going to teach, I'm going to teach on my own terms. And so I ended up, not again. I liked teaching, but all the other stuff that went with it, I didn't really like. So I said, okay, well, this is really nothing. This doesn't fill my soul. This doesn't make me happy. I don't wake up in the morning saying, oh boy, I'm going to do this today. And years ago, decades ago, I came to the conclusion that, and this is here's this is just here's the
Mhm.
analogy. I don't know if you ever watch Bill Maher,
Mhm.
but he has a segment in his show called "I don't know it for a fact.
Uh-huh.
I just know it's true."
Right.
Okay. I don't
Yeah.
know it for a fact. I just know it's true. So I don't know this for a fact, but I basically sense this is true. That approximately 75% of the people in the world do what they have to do for a living.
Mhm.
And maybe about 15% of those people do what they like to do for a living. And maybe, if we're lucky, 10% of the people in the world, I'm debating if that's high, but do what they love to do for a living.
Mm.
And I always wanted to be in the 10% club.
Mhm.
I didn't know what that 10% was going to be for me. But I always said, if I'm going to do anything for a living, I need to find something that I love.
Right.
And so at the end of 5 years of teaching, I started making assessments. And what do I love? What do I really love? The one thing that I loved, believe it or not, was radio commercials
Mhm.
that were funny,
Uh-huh.
humorous radio commercials. When I heard a humorous radio commercial done by a guy named Stan Freberg or Dick Orkin, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to
Nice.
do that.
And how old were you at that point?
29.
Nice. So
I was
how did you get into
29 years old.
doing what you wanted to do? That's because that's a tough road.
That was insane. All I knew is that I wanted to do it. I
Yeah.
had no idea how. All I knew is that I wanted to.
Uh-huh.
So I had be in my the good thing was is that the thing that pushed me was when I started teaching, I had my previous life before teaching was I was a singer, songwriter,
Mhm.
performer. I was in a band, I was in a group, and I did college concerts and circuits and tours, and I was playing and singing in front of audiences. And
I
I did
remember
that
that.
all through high school and all through college. So I had about
Yeah.
four years, another 4 years. So I had 8 years. I had 8 years of writing and singing and performing. When
Okay.
I was a teacher, in the middle of my teaching career, an ad agency had heard a song that I wrote and said, "Would you like to do a commercial for us? Would you like to do the music for our toy commercial?"
Nice.
Sure, sure, absolutely. And that's when all of a sudden I realized, hey, wait a minute, I could be creative and not have to perform in front of an audience. I could do behind the scenes stuff. I could write music and copy.
Mhm.
And so that moment during my teaching career, when I actually got this other job writing this commercial, the light bulb went off and I said, wait a minute, if I could do this here in Cincinnati, Ohio,
Uh-huh.
I need to go where the production is, and that was Los Angeles.
Mhm.
So that's what I did 42 years ago. I came to LA and I said, I want to be a radio commercial writer producer. That was my goal. And I came there with a few songs that I'd written and just a couple of just namby, just nothing, a demo that was now when you look at it, it's almost embarrassing. But
Uh-huh.
back then it's all I had. And I just that's what I came to LA to do was to write and produce commercials for radio.
And how did you get your break in LA? Or how did you start to create your break, really?
Well, basically what I did was I knew that I needed my days free to talk to the agencies, to call the agencies, to make appointments with the agencies. If I got a job to go into the studio during the day and work with people, et cetera, et cetera, I needed my days free, meaning that I had to still have a job and
Mhm.
keep the roof over my head and the food in the fridge and the gas in the car and the phone in the wall. That's when phones were in the wall
I remember that.
back then.
Yeah.
Anyway, I decided to get a job, swing shift, 5 in the afternoon till 1 in the morning, and I drove a limousine.
Okay.
And that's what
I
I did for 4 years. For 4 years, I drove a limousine in the evening. And during the day, I worked at building my business, building every single day. And then one day, after 4 years, I got a client who paid me in 1 month what my entire driving gig had paid me in 4 years.
Wow. That must have felt amazing.
Amazing. And it allowed me to call the limo company that I was driving for and say, hey, I got to move on. Thank you for
Great.
keeping me employed, and thank you. And that was 1982, and I never looked back
Was that
from
for
that particular point.
a voice commercial or
No, believe it or not, no, I was writing and producing a whole campaign
okay.
of commercials. And so, and initially when I first started, I was not a voice actor. I wasn't planning to be a voice actor. I was planning to be a writer, producer, casting director. That's what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
But fate intervened, and a number of clients said, "We'd love for you to be our voice." And I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. I work with the top talent in the world. You want them. I'm sure you can pick from their voices." They said, "No, no, no. We want you."
Nice.
So I realized very quickly that I had to get up to speed as a voice actor. Well,
Mhm.
I just got lucky. It was just fortuitous. A colleague invited me to participate in a voiceover workout group. It
Mhm.
was one of the very first voiceover workout groups ever. And it was back in 1985.
Wow.
And I stayed with that group, working with that group once a week, every week, once a week, every week for 6 years.
Wow. And so you just kept doing that and
Kept doing
kept
that.
getting gigs
Kept
and
writing and producing and casting, but still kept learning as a voice actor what I needed to do. So
I think I know the answer to this question from what you just said, but to what do you owe your success?
work, keeping my eyes on the prize, being tenacious, and just never, ever, 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 ever giving up.
And I also heard being willing to learn.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to be a sponge. And the best actors never stop learning. Never, ever, ever.
Ev-
Absolutely. No, you got to be a sponge and you have to keep your skills honed because there are 100 people behind you ready to step over your warm body.
Uh-huh. I read about something on in one of the I guess it was voice actors of New York City group, and someone was complaining that they were giving some advice to a newbie, and the newbie like blew up at them when they suggested that they pay, $1,400 for a demo, and they were like, I don't know who cheated you into thinking that you had to pay that much money, but I just spent $200 on a room and a demo and everything, and I'm set. And it was just like one of those things where you go, just the arrogance of ignorance, you know?
Yes. Oh, there could be. Oh, there's absolutely that, and also the arrogance of the other way of somebody who thinks that they know everything.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. They often go together.
Yeah.
So what do you have to suggest for new VAs?
Oh my goodness. Where do I start?
Yeah, well,
Well,
we got no
where do we
time
start?
limit.
Yes, exactly. Well, we basically you got to start with training because there is absolutely nothing that you want to do that doesn't involve training. It doesn't have to be voice acting. It's anything. Is there anything that you want to do that doesn't involve training?
Mm-mm.
No, impossible. Is there anything that you want to do that doesn't involve some investment in
No,
in
people
that
forget
training,
that.
whatever
Yeah.
that is? Absolutely. Now, we're our business involves equipment like this. Other businesses involve equipment like, well, computers and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Other businesses have nothing to do with machinery and equipment, with the exception of, well, let's say sports. But even sports, again,
Mhm.
anything you want to do, whether it's sports, whether it's the arts, whether it's computers, it doesn't matter. Everything involves training. So my your initial question is my advice for new VAs: get as much training as you possibly can. And the beauty of it is that there's so many amazingly wonderful teachers and instructors out there that you have a smorgasbord of training and trainers
Mhm.
that you can pick from. And I always remind people too, if you're thinking of investing in a class or course, whatever the case may be, see if you can audit the class. See if you can dip your toe in the water. See if this teacher is right for you, is a good fit for you.
Mhm.
So I always suggest people ask if you can audit a class before you invest your money in it.
Mhm.
And also ask around, do your homework, find out the best people, and find out also from other your peers. The beauty of it is now, again, the industry has gotten to the point where there are all these wonderful groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, that you can join and ask questions for people who are members. There are also organizations that you can go to and ask questions. The education, the material is out there. The of course, the flip side of the coin is, how do you avoid charlatans?
And
How
that's
do
the
you
thing.
avoid,
Yeah.
people who are just who want to separate you from your money in a New York minute? Well, you do your homework, you ask around, you find out who's good, who's not so good, and who's specious, and you do your homework. So, so back to the original question, advice for VAs, training, number one, finding out, doing your homework, finding out from your peers who's good, who's not good. Then, of course, there are the events that come up, the conventions, the voiceover conventions that before this pandemic were all together. Everybody was there in one room, and there were some are better than others, but that keeps you up to date on top instructors and what's current, and et cetera, et cetera. Plus, these conventions, you get to meet other people physically, which is wonderful. When you go to a convention, you meet people that you're friends for life for the rest of the, because you met it at this convention. So once this pandemic is over, my suggestion again to newbies is reach out and connect. The beauty of the voiceover industry is that of all the arts, whether it's on stage, on camera, dance, theater, the voiceover industry is the most supportive industry I know in the
Mhm.
arts, where people help each other, encourage each other, refer each other, and answer, and just basically bring each other up, help each other grow. And
Yeah.
there are organizations, by the way, there's organizations that people can join, that also will educate you and give you resources and all sorts of things that will support you as a voice actor. You may be isolated in your booth, but you are not alone. You have support. You've been
Yeah.
doing this for a while, and you've reached out and you realize how much support there is out there.
I haven't been doing it for that long. I did it first about 20 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And then I just stopped. Life got in the way. And then I recently got back into it literally like 4 months ago.
That's great.
And I can't even tell you how much support and kindness and inclusion I've felt from people.
Yeah.
It's just been, everyone says, oh, they're supportive, but no, it's really true.
Yeah,
Voice
it is.
actors are supportive, they're helpful, they'll answer questions. I have yet to hear a no from anybody about doing an interview. You
Right.
know,
Right.
people are just like excited about helping other people out,
They want to
and it's
share. They
amazing.
want to
Yeah.
share their knowledge, and they want the other people. When I was first starting out, again, there weren't any voiceover workout groups. I was in one of the very first ones, literally 30 years ago,
Yeah.
and almost 35 years ago. It was just absolutely crazy. Now they're everywhere. They're well, except pre-pandemic, people were meeting constantly, whether they were doing it virtually, whether they were renting a studio space for the evening. They're doing it, and they will do it after this is all over.
I set up one for there wasn't one for the South. So I live in the South, and I
Yes,
put together a voiceover South group, and we meet
great,
Wednesdays in the evenings and Fridays in the afternoon, and
fantastic,
we do some reading and just some
wonderful,
shooting the breeze, and it's a lot of
wonderful,
fun. Yeah.
absolutely wonderful,
So
wonderful, good. Keep on, keep doing that.
yeah, and there's I've been more connected with the New York branch of everything. So a lot of the
Uh-huh.
stuff that I've been doing would be through like Voice Actors of NYC. What sort of things are there in LA that are the equivalent to that?
Um, the equivalent to the weekly meetings?
Well, there's the Voice Actors of NYC Facebook group, which then has a bunch of other things that they do,
Oh, yes,
including
yes.
events and whatever. Is there a group or two in LA that you
Oh,
want to
yeah. Oh, I'm
mention?
sure there is. There's got to be a number of LA groups right here that I know exist offhand. I can't think of the name of them offhand, but yes, absolutely. Almost every major city has a voiceover group where they get together and work out and switch off scripts. Speaking of scripts,
Yes, I sent you a script. So
you
one of the
did.
things that I like to do is have everybody dry read the same script
Oh
just to
boy.
see how people do it differently. And the
I'm
reason I
doing
chose this
completely
one,
cold, Ian. I have not even checked my email this morning because I've been working on another project here, and so now I have to find your your
what, you
script here.
planned something else today other than this?
I I I believe it or not, at 10 o'clock I had a meeting, um, and yeah, I had a meeting at 10. All right, so let's see here. Hold on one second. Where
It should
are
just be on the thread that we were talking on.
we? Okay. Let's see. Where are we, Ian?
So I like to have everyone read it just to hear and show people that everyone has a different read, to see how people go through the process of looking at a read and deciding how they're going to do it, and then what they come up with, and then maybe why. So, and you can take as many stabs at it as you want. So
Okay, let's just see what we have here. I'm just trying to find it.
it's at the very last email I sent. I can put it in the chat here if you want.
Okay. Oh, let's put it in the chat.
Yeah, give me a second here, and I'll. Um,
Oh, here it is.
oh, you
Here it is.
got it. Okay, good.
Okay, hold on one second. All right, so let's see. Oh,
It's
here it
like
is.
when you used to smoke, right? It's like if you want a bus to come or anything to happen, just light a cigarette, right?
That's exactly right.
You say, I'm going to put it in
Absolutely.
a chat. Boom, there it is.
That's it. That's it. Okay, so this is for a lift in this particular case. Do we have a time on this?
No time.
No time. Okay. So it's not even broadcast, which is great. That's a lot more.
So for those of you who are
What is
listening, he's
that?
just looking it
Hmm,
over and reading it and getting a sense of it.
excellent. Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, again, it, I mean, it's a pretty casual read. Um, I guess you could squeeze this into a 15 if you needed to. I'll time myself just to see how we're looking. I'm eyeballing it here. Looks like a tight 15, but it's a 15. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transport, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going. That came out to 15 and a half.
You want to try a slightly longer version without the crowding?
Well, in this particular case, if stretching this out to 30 would be insane.
Well, let's call it a web video and make it 20.
Okay, that's fine. That's terrific. Excellent. Let's try another one. We'll call this a web 20, we'll call this a web 20. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transport, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going. And that came out to 20 and change.
That's good timing.
There you go.
Excellent.
Well, that's my inner stopwatch, which
I've
I've
been trying to
developed.
develop one.
That's it. And here the thing is, Ian, the more you time yourself,
Yeah.
the more you'll get in touch with that inner stopwatch. Because the bottom line is, let's just say you do an audition for a spot, and you get the gig, and they say, yeah, Ian, you got the gig. Um, and that spot was however long it was, 30 seconds, let's just say.
Mhm.
And you go in the actual session, is set up, when you do your first take, one of the first things they're going to tell you is not, that was a great job, Ian. One of the first things they're going to say is, okay, Ian, that was 27. We have to be out at 30. Or, Ian, that was 34. We need to be in at 30. So the first thing they'll do is give you the time right
Nice.
off the bat. So you can calibrate. Oh, do I have to go faster, slower? What do I do? The more you are in touch with that inner stopwatch, the more you can calibrate that time and adjust your pace and adjust your speed to accommodate their time. You don't go in there with a stopwatch. They do. They
Nice.
just let you know what the time is, and then you again read accordingly. That's why my first take was 15, even though it didn't say 15, but I eyeballed it and said, okay, that looks like a 15, a tight 15. And it was a tight 15. When you said, okay, Mark, loosen it up, you got an extra 5 seconds. This is a 20 web. Thank you. You gave me the time to breathe. You gave me the time to think. That's one thing I want. That's one other little bit of advice for
Hmm.
not just new VAs, but any voice actors is take a moment, take a beat, take some time. Don't race through shit. Because anything, if you race through something, the listener isn't going to know what you're talking about because you're talking so fast.
And it's amateurish.
Well, the bottom line is if you got the time, take the time.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of silence. That's the point I'm making here. Don't be afraid to take a beat. Don't be afraid of silence. Don't be afraid to say something and let the thought sink in for a second. I call those thought beats. Don't be afraid to take a beat. Don't be afraid of silence. I never met any actor who didn't like to take a dramatic beat, ever. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid of silence. Don't be one of those people who talks incessantly and talks and talks and talks and talks and talks and sucks all the oxygen out of a room.
Oh
You
God.
know anybody
Yeah.
like that? You know anybody who talks very, very quickly and constantly talks and you can't get a word in edgewise because they're constantly talking? Do you
It's
know
the
people like
worst.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way,
The worst.
there's a 12-step program. There's a 12-step program for people who talk incessantly.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I didn't. What's it
Yeah, it's
called?
called On and On and On. Thank you. We're here all week. Try the veal.
So you do comedy as well.
Absolutely.
Nice. So, actually, that made me want to get a stopwatch, to be honest. Because just the
Oh,
action
yeah,
of that
yeah.
is very nice.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I'm gonna
Absolutely.
pick one
Now,
up.
I've got an
I'm gonna call
analog
it
one.
Mark.
Thank you. Thank you. Mark your time. Exactly.
Exactly.
And you could get a regular one, a real one, or you can get a digital one that's even
I like a
quieter.
real one.
This one is like the 60 minutes one.
Yeah. Nice. 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 Nice.
But
Nice.
anyway,
Yeah, I want to
but
get one of those.
yeah,
So,
they're not inexpensive. They're not expensive. You can get one virtually anywhere.
so let me ask you about that read. What were your choices in that read and why? If you can articulate.
Oh, what are my choices?
Yeah.
Well,
Why did you
well,
read it the way you
basically,
read it?
the bottom line is I let the story. In other words, there was no direction notice on that script. There's
Mhm.
no direction. They didn't tell you anything that they wanted upbeat, that they wanted it with a smile, that they wanted you to have some energy and keep it light. But the writing dictates. When you get a script that has no direction, and occasionally you will, let the story dictate the delivery. If the writing is upbeat and fun and casual and positive, then keep it that way. If the writing is more serious, then obviously go that way. Let the writing dictate the story.
Right on. Pun intended.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice. All right.
Now, also,
Yeah.
no, now, also, of course, I applied basically the way I did this was what I call voiceover. I did a voiceover read, a voiceover delivery on that particular thing. I didn't take it as an actor. In other words, I read the words,
Hmm.
but as an actor, when you're framing a story, you have to understand the story better. But in essence, I did the voiceover delivery on that. Voiceover, I make a distinction between voiceover and voice acting.
Mm.
Voiceover to me is 2.9% APR financing for 60 months on all vehicles in stock. There's no acting involved in that. But but I teach voice acting, where
Hmm.
you basically apply the tenets of acting to what it is you're talking about.
What would a voice acting read of that sound like?
Well, a voice acting read, a voice acting read, the actual read itself is not going to be that much different. Let me just pull this up here. Hold on one second here. Let me just pull this up here and do this. Hold on one second. I just lost the um, the script here. Let me just pull this up here.
Do, 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 do.
Yes,
I need
that's
some
right. We
background
just
music for time like this.
exactly the background music. Here we are. Okay, go right here. Um, the thing is I again when I look at copy now, I understand copy from an actor's point of view. I understand the story from an actor's point of view.
Hmm.
So but but a voiceover person is just going to be reading the words. But a voiceover person will have no idea in this story who they are or where they are or who they're talking to. So in fact, let's turn this around here. In this story for Lyft, if you are doing this story for Lyft, do you have any idea who you are in this story? Do you have any idea where you're telling this story or who you're talking to?
I
And you might
picture
say,
it.
"Well, Mark, I'm a
Yeah.
voice actor behind a microphone in a booth. Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing?" No, no.
Yeah. I picture it actually happening on the street. I
On the
picture,
street.
yeah, that's what, I wrote this with Anna Gardugno, who's my coach and teacher.
Uh-huh.
And this was actually one that was left out of my demo. So,
Uh-huh.
and I liked it because it's vague, because it doesn't have instruction, and because it's totally open for any
Yes.
interpretation.
Right. But
So,
as but in the actual telling of the story,
yeah, so I picture,
do you have
I'm a
any
guy at
idea?
Lyft who works for Lyft telling his friend about this app. He's like maybe out there trying to figure out how to get somewhere. And I'm like, hey, let me tell you about Lyft.
Yeah, but it says here, we're always happy to pick you up. You do you work for Lyft?
Yeah. Yeah. I work for Lyft.
You work for Lyft.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, so you would look somebody in the face and say, "Download the Lyft app today and get going." You
Well,
would actually say that to somebody?
well,
No, I'm serious.
that's the thing
Ian?
about conversational reads, right? Is they're conversational and things that we would never say in conversation.
Okay, so
But yeah, good point.
let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Physically, where are you telling this story?
So I'm on the sidewalk
You're on the
with this
sidewalk.
person,
Hmm.
and I'm just picturing him trying to figure out what to do. And so one of the things I would say is download the Lyft app.
Okay. Again, um, I'm just having a hard time
Yeah. Tell me.
seeing you having a conversation, looking at somebody and saying, um, uh, "We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought." You see, this entire all the words in this,
Uh-huh.
you would really never say to somebody one to one because they'd look at you like you're off your meds. I mean, seriously,
Yeah, you're very
you
true.
would never say this one to one to anybody.
What would you picture?
Well, again, there's only one place where you could possibly be telling this story.
Okay.
You're not telling this story to one person. Have you heard, by the way, this concept of in voiceover make believe you're always talking to one person?
Yeah.
That's bullshit. I'm just going
I
to tell you
love
right now.
controversial opinions too.
That's just total bullshit. And I defy anybody to prove that to me otherwise. I'll give them $1,000 to prove to me otherwise that you're talking to one
All right,
person.
you heard it here, people. If you want to make $1,000, prove to Mark that you're not just talking to one person.
And that's it. You'd never say these words to one person ever. They'd look at you like you're off your meds and back off. Okay. It's just realistic. Let's just be realistic here. You're
So
not
what is the
talking to
one
one
place that
person
this would happen?
at a convention.
Okay, nice.
We're at Rideshare Con
Nice.
and you're
Okay.
representing Lyft
Oh,
and you're
nice.
doing a TED talk for Lyft. This is your 30-second Lyft TED, your 15-second Lyft TED talk. You're at a convention. You are representing Lyft. You're the spokesman for Lyft.
Nice.
That's who you are. In virtually all commercials, you're the spokesperson. That's who you are as an
Okay.
actor. This comes from an actor's point of view. An actor needs to know who they are, where they are, and who they're talking to. An actor is connected. Any actor on stage, any actor on camera, they're connected. They know who they are. They know where they are. They know who they're talking to. They're connected. They do acting. That's what acting is all about. You inhabit a role.
So this
That's
could
why
also
most
be,
people,
yeah,
well, I was going to say, most people who call themselves voice actors aren't voice actors. They're readers. They're
right.
just reading words. That's all they're doing is reading words. They have no idea where they are, no idea who they are, no idea who they're talking to. None whatsoever. They think their job is to read words. That's not their job. If you're going to be a voice actor, act, inhabit a role, know who you are, know who you're talking to,
Yeah. I
know
just had an
where you
image
are
of
physically.
this Lyft person being at any other convention talking about Lyft too.
That's right.
You know, it could
That's
be
it. But
a
it has
voice
to be
actors
related.
convention.
It has
Yeah.
to be relatable. They have to
Yeah.
be there for a reason.
Right.
And basically, what you want to do is you want to give yourself a reason to say what you're saying. And you can, the reason can't be I'm a voice actor behind a microphone doing an audition, sending it into my agent. That is off the table.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. So in this particular case, when I look at copy, I look at it as an actor and I understand exactly who I am. I'm the spokesman for Lyft. Where I am I'm at a rideshare convention. We're at Rideshare Con, and
Okay.
and I'm just one of many people presenting to this audience. We got Lyft, we got Uber, we got every other rideshare company out there at this convention,
Nice.
and that's who I am. Now I
How
know
did
who
that
I am.
how would that read go?
Well, again, it's very similar to what I just said because I know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to an audience.
Okay.
That's why the MC can say, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Lyft, Mr. Marc Cashman.
All right.
And I say, thank you so much for inviting me here at the Rideshare Con. This is wonderful. I was here last year, and now I'm here virtually. Of course, it's nice to be able to pretend that we're in front of an audience, and so we are going to do that right now. But yes, I've been with Lyft for the past 5 years. I've been in the rideshare industry for even longer than that. I could talk about Lyft all day long. Let me show you. Let me show you what Lyft is all about. Take a look at this screen behind me right here. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transport, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going. I'm here in front of an audience. That's who I'm talking to. They can see all the pictures
That
behind
was
me.
great. That was a great read, Mark.
But that's the thing is, as I was referring to the pictures behind me,
Yeah.
that's it. That's what I'm doing. The pictures behind me.
And that was very enlightening for me too. You know, just like I absolutely learned something there. I mean, I know the theory of that,
Yeah.
but seeing you do it, I was like,
Yeah.
bing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just again, this is all based on common sense, Ian. This is just based on common sense. And I guarantee, and it's really funny because many times I'll sit down with an actor and we'll go through a script and for the first time and I'll ask them, who are you in this story? And they say, well, what do you mean? I'm me. Well, yeah, but what's your role?
Right.
What is your role? What role are you inhabiting as an actor? That's what actors do. They inhabit a role. That's what actors have been doing
Right.
since time began.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. They recently found these cave drawings in Southeast Asia that are thousands of years older than the ones they found in southern France, and yet they had virtually the exact same pictures on the wall. The
Well, they didn't
hunt.
have many
This
different shows back then.
That's right. So what was the main story? The story of
Hunting.
the hunt. The
Yeah.
hunt. We had a big animal that everybody was running against, running after to try to kill. You know, we ran after this beast, we killed him, and now let's eat. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like the Jewish religion. They attacked us, we beat them, let's eat.
Yes, exactly. I'm Jewish, and we tell that one all the time. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
That's it. But the thing is that these pictures on the wall of these caves, they found on all these cave drawings, they found a layer of soot underneath them, and they realized what they did was they made fires underneath
Mhm.
these pictures, and the smoke and the flames made the pictures come alive. That was our first home movies.
Nice.
And that's what we've been doing since time began, is we've been telling pictures, telling stories with pictures, telling stories through pictures, visuals. Now you might say, well, Mark, isn't this totally counterintuitive to voice acting? No, because voiceover was that term originally came from the term voice over picture.
Hmm.
Voice over picture. That's where the term voiceover came from. So people, students have to remember, actors, voice actors have to remember that the stories are tied to pictures. And if you can see those pictures, so can the audience. If you can visualize those pictures, so can the audience. If
Hmm.
you tie your story to visuals, you've got to see in your mind's eye those pictures. If you can see them, so can the audience.
Nice. Excellent. Well,
That's
thank you,
just
Mark.
one technique. That's just one of my many, 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 many techniques that I use to basically get voice actors to become actors rather than readers.
I think by the time I'm like into this podcast for a while, I'm going to be taking classes from everybody.
That would be that it does it is like that too because they're very enticing and they're alluring and but they're all based on some great acting techniques. That's
Yeah,
the best instructors do that.
yeah. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to say to newbies?
Wow. Um, yeah. Um, don't listen to naysayers. There are always going to be people out there who said, "You can't do that. How are you going to do that? That's just crazy. What are you thinking?" And that's just negative thinking. The thing is that there are thousands and thousands of people out there who are perfect, great examples of success stories. That this can be done. That you
Hmm.
can do this if this is something you really, really love and really want to do.
Yeah, I've been realizing that a lot lately. I'm like, if all these people can do it,
Yes,
I got to be able to do it too. I mean, I'm not
yes,
that stupid. You know, I'm not that
absolutely.
terrible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a mantra in the used car business. Keep
Yeah.
this in mind. The mantra in the used car business is there's an ass for every seat.
I'm
And
not
that's
even know where I was going to go with that.
and that's how casting works. There's an
Yeah.
ass for every seat. Somebody's going to
Nice.
get the part. Somebody's going to get the job.
Yeah.
And it could just as may as well just be you.
Tips on auditioning.
Oh my goodness. Geez Louise. Just follow the story. Make sure you understand the story. Make sure you understand exactly again in the story understand who you are and where you are and who you're talking to, and understand that voice acting is not reading. It's not a matter of reading words. Anybody can read words. Your job is to act the story, not read the words. Keep that in mind always in
Excellent.
terms of your auditions, and they'll be really, really good.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. Well, we're kind of at that time where it's time for you to self promote.
Wow.
If you have any more promotions you want to talk about.
I thought that this entire thing was a whole self promotional thing. So, you know, I always have classes coming up. I'm available for coaching. Um, I've got some events coming up, some webinars, some free webinars coming up. The next webinar is going to be mid January, and it's going to be very simple how to find work in 2021. Very,
Nice.
very simple. And I'm going to have some guests there on the show. And my webinars are free, and I've been doing free webinars for years now.
I'm going to sign
But
up
the
for that one
past
right now.
well, yeah. Actually, this isn't really a webinar; it's more of an interview. But my webinars, where there's a lot of information, it's usually 2 hours long. They have a lot. We have a lot of wonderful guests and super knowledgeable guests. But my webinars have been free for the past years now, 3 or 4 years now. But the past two webinars, I've turned them into benefit webinars where people can, even though it's free, people can donate however much money they want, $5,
Nice.
$10, whatever the case may be, and donate, and the donations will go toward a worthy cause. So the first webinar that I did, I think it was around March, I think March or April of this past year, was for a local hospital where we raised money to feed the frontline workers at this local hospital. We raised $7,500, and
Nice.
so it was a win-win because we also supported the local restaurants that provided the food for those frontline workers. So everybody won. The second webinar that I did a couple of months ago was for a food pantry, a local food pantry, and we raised money for that. And the next one is going to be for a combination food and homeless organization, an organization that gives food to homeless people, but also helps take really older indigent people off the streets. And so it's a combination of food pantry and outreach for homeless people. And so I figured, this is a perfect way for me to help when I'm totally isolated. And I can't go out there, and I just can't go out there. There's nothing to go out there to anyway. So I figured as long as I'm here, organized, and I've got all my ducks in a row, I can actually affect donations and
Hmm.
people and organizations and help out, even though I'm completely isolated, as well as everybody else who's also on the webinar. So
Nice.
you'll see the webinar. I'll be sending you an announcement.
Where is
And
it on your website? I don't see anything for
yeah, it's not
webinar.
posted on my
Oh,
website
okay.
yet. I'm going to put it up there, and I'm going to be sending out an announcement for everybody, again to join, and hopefully we'll support this local organization, and I'm going to continue doing that until the pandemic is semi-officially over,
Hmm.
just to help. Again, food pantries are going to be bursting with the response, with demand, and the hospitals
Hmm.
are already at full capacity.
That's
So
crazy. Yeah.
we just have to help out. We just have to help out as much as possible at our end, do what we can do. And so these free webinars, I thought, were a great vehicle to
Yeah.
raise a little money for some charitable organizations that are actually doing stuff and on the ground doing stuff. So
Yeah.
that's coming up.
That's great. Is there a place on your website to sign up for newsletters or email or anything?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You just go to my website, and if you want to any information, you'll get my email address there. You can write to me directly, and I'll
Okay.
get that and send you some
Okay.
info.
But there's no
Yeah.
place to like put in your email for regular updates or anything like that?
Oh no! Once you're on my email list, you're on it. You
Okay.
get regular updates done. All you have to do is say, "Hey, add me to your email list," and I'll send you a link, and I'll send you a
Got it.
confirmation. You say you're done, and I even send you some materials. This year has been 25 top vocal health tips for voice actors.
Great. And you've been doing the 366 tips.
Yes,
I've been
yes.
enjoying those on LinkedIn. Yeah.
365 every year, 365, but this year 366. Yes, a voiceover tip every single day,
Yeah.
and uh, which was funny how that evolved. Um, my daughter was the one who inspired that for me.
Yeah.
Um, I asked her. I said, "What do I do to stay on social media and be relevant?" She said, "Well, you have to post something every day. Every day you have to post something, day in day out, no matter what." I said,
Today I
"Okay."
posted a picture of a bear on my setup with the earphones on, talking into the mic, a stuffed bear,
That's great.
saying
That's great.
everybody's getting into voiceover.
That's right. Exactly. Everybody. Exactly. No, so
Yeah,
so that's it. So yeah, so it's
nice,
just a matter of just being consistent. And of
nice.
course, obviously, content, very, very important,
Yeah,
and content that nobody, hopefully nobody else has.
and
And
it's useful, and it's
what's that?
useful, and it's
And
useful.
useful, absolutely
Today,
practicable,
362.
applicable, useful, all those things. And I've noticed, by the way, that since I started posting a few years ago, that I got some copycats. But hey, what do they say?
Imitation.
Advertising is
Imitation is the sincerest form of
yes,
flattery.
that's exactly it. Thank you.
Well, let me read this. Today's tip is 362. Don't spend a fortune on a mic and cheap out on your recording space. A
Thank you.
dead room is key, and there are tons of affordable professional mics.
That's exactly right.
And I read
That's
that.
that's
I
that's
didn't act
exactly
that.
That's exactly right. That's it. And yes, so these tips are for newbies or for veterans or everybody in between. And just something short and sweet and simple that you can that'll stick with you. And what's interesting was when I first started doing it, I did 10. I said, okay, here's 10 tips over 10 days. By the time I got to the ninth day, I said, oh, I may as well make it 20. So I did another 10.
Oh,
And I
nice.
said, oh, I may as well make it 30. And I kept on doing. Then I got to 50. And I said, well, okay, let's just do 100. And then I realized, well, if I'm going to do 100, why stop at 100?
Right.
Don't you have more information than just 100 tips? I could do a tip every day for a year. Really? Okay, do it. So I said, okay, that was my goal. You know what the
Making it,
hardest part, Ian, was? The
what's
hardest
that?
part was when I got to about, I don't know, 260 something, whatever it was. I said, am I repeating myself? Am I duplicating myself? So I'd have to go back over 261 tips to make sure that I wasn't repeating myself.
Are you
So,
going to repeat them for next year, or are you going to come up
oh,
with
I
new
repeat
ones?
them every year, every
Okay.
single year.
Same
Absolutely.
366.
Yes, actually 365. This was the only year, this was a leap year. So this was the
Right.
one exception, it was 366.
Okay.
And I'm still working on getting the graphics for number 366. I already
Yeah.
know what it is, by the way.
It's a rare Pokemon. It only comes around every four
It's a rare
years.
Pokemon. Actually, it's one that I recently came up with. So your listeners are going to be privy to this tip before it even comes out into the world. This tip is number 366, and it involves actually placement of your microphone, which is the tip I was going to give you at the
Ah,
end of this session. And the tip is it's a very alliterative. Proper placement prevents plosives.
mm-hmm.
That's it. Proper placement prevents
Prevents
plosives.
plosives.
All right. So now we're gonna take that tip and we're gonna use that tip for you. All right, so what
Okay.
I want you to do is, first of all, I want you to take off the pop screen filter off that off that stand. You don't
Okay.
need it.
All
You don't
right.
need it. It's superfluous. All right. Then I want you to take your mic stand and I want you to get that mic so that it is hanging down like this. Can you see me?
Yep.
It's hanging down in front of your third eye. In front of your third eye, right up here. So the bottom of this microphone is right above the bridge of my nose. That's exactly it. That's exactly right.
Yep.
Now, look at me and say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Proper placement prevents plosives.
There you go. And that's exactly what you got there. That's your mic there. You don't need that pop screen filter anymore
Nice. Okay.
because you got proper placement.
All right. Well, this is normally how I read, but when
Good.
I wanted it out of my face for doing the audit for
But it
the
shouldn't be in your
interviews.
face. That's just it. In other
Yeah.
words, if it's in front of your third eye, you
Yeah.
should only be able to see this peripherally.
Yep. So remember that, folks. Proper placement prevents plosives.
Exactly. You see that?
Yeah.
Look at you. Now you're pro. I wish I had invented the pop screen filter. I could retire yesterday from the royalties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mark. Any
my
final
pleasure.
words? And I mean that just for this interview, not like,
Yes. No, no, no. That's
not
right. Yeah,
not
thank you. I
mortality.
appreciate that.
Yes.
No, 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 no. No, the bottom line is there are two words in acting: have fun.
Nice.
If you're not having fun, why are you doing this? Seriously.
Absolutely.
Have fun. If you're not having fun, there's no point in acting if you're not having fun doing it. Because that's truthfully what acting is all about. This is supposed to be a fun thing for you to do, a fun moment for you to inhabit another character. Just be somebody who you're not. Just for a while. Just for a while.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My
And thank
pleasure.
you for
Thank you, Ian. Thank you
for
so
the
much for
interview.
your interview. This is wonderful.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot, and I hope all you out there listening are learning a lot, or on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this right now. But thank you all for listening, and we'll have another one next week. You've been listening to Voiceover. How did you do it? At www.voiceoverpodcast.com with me, Ian Kleinfeld. You can watch the video to all our podcasts at voiceoverpodcast.com/YouTube. The background track is 1959 by my alter ego Max Rocket, and you can find that and other songs at www.maxrocketmusic.com. Remember to like, subscribe, write a review, and all that good stuff on whatever podcast streaming service you're listening to, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.